It's a great panel I bring to you tonight. Randeep Surjewala on the one side of the Congress, and on the other side we have Ashok Khemka. One thing we say about Ashok Khemka is that he's the man who has been transferred 41 times in the last 21 years of his career. So he gets a posting every... Ashok Khemka, good evening. Randeep Surjewala of the Congress, Satya Pal Jain of the BJP is joined also in our Chandigarh studios with Ashok Khemka. Shailesh Gandhi, former CIC, well-known RTI activist, TSR Subramanium Cabinet Secretary, and Madhukar Jaitely, who's the advisor to the government of Uttar Pradesh, and he has cabinet rank. There is Ashok Khemka. I was wondering where he was on the screen. It's actually great to have Congress and Ashok Khemka together sometimes. That's on a lighter note, Randeep Surjewala. You know, as they say, never the twain shall meet, but they meet here on the Newshour studio. A senior minister in the Haryana government and National Congress spokesperson with Ashok Khemka. How do I resist then but ask the first question to Mr. Surjewala? That if this law, Mr. Surjewala, which the Supreme Court has suggested framing, were to be implemented, then Ashok Khemka would not have been transferred 41 times in 20 years. Then Ashok Khemka would not have been persecuted for taking on Robert Vadra. Would you agree?
Arnab, since you are shifting the focus of the debate, so let me answer that first for you. Any bureaucrat, whether it is Shri Ashok Khemka, and nobody has anything personal against Shri Khemka or against any other bureaucrat, who passes an order 4 days after his transfer orders, action would be initiated irrespective of which law is enforced, because no law would then protect such an officer. Any officer who violates the law, including the law laid down by the Supreme Court, would have to be proceeded against within the framework of the law without any favor or prejudice against him. Any officer who by his actions, and I do not mean it specifically for Shri Khemka, causes loss to the public exchequer would be proceeded against in accordance with law. What has the Supreme Court said? Please also read 3 more words in that, as I took it out from your website today. It said there is an urgent need for the bureaucrats to be responsive, to be sensitive, and to adhere to the law. Fair enough. Nobody says that the bureaucrats should not adhere to the law. The Supreme Court, like in Prakash Singh's case for police officers, has also laid down certain guidelines. The full text of the judgment is yet to be available. I am sure the 28 states of the country, as also the central government, since the title of your debate suggested that it is only applicable to center, the entire country, state governments and central government would adhere to the majesty of law as laid down by the Supreme Court.
It's Mr. Surjewala. May I say this with great respect? I am not shifting the focus of the discussion. Far from shifting the focus of the discussion, I plead guilty to the charge of focusing the discussion in the right manner. Because many people do believe that the cases of Ashok Khemka, Durga Shakti Nagpal, and for that matter, the brutal killing of Zia-ul Haq by a person allegedly close or with the patronage or with the support of your party, these are instances which tell us that we need stronger independent bureaucracy which needs to free itself from politicians. Ashok Khemka is only a case in point. And I say, Ashok Khemka...
can I just intervene and correct you on one fact?
Ashok Khemka must
Before
be...
you go to Mr. Khemka,
no, I'm just saying...
You said something about Mr. Zia-ul Haq being murdered with somebody affiliated to Congress.
No, I didn't say affiliated. I didn't say affiliated. I didn't say affiliated. I said it happened in the Samaj. No, I didn't say affiliated.
I thought you used...
No, I didn't say. I'm very careful in my use of words.
It happened in a government.
I said...
It happened in a government that
in
is
a government,
yes.
Under the Samajwadi Party rule.
To which we are opposed to in the state.
Yes. I said a Samajwadi Party rule. So I'm glad you understood what I was saying. Samajwadi Party rule.
Where none less than Mr. Rahul Gandhi went and demanded a CBI inquiry.
Mr. Surjewala, you know the broad point, here's the broad point here. The broad point is, you say majesty of the law. is it the majesty of the law that allows Ashok Khemka to be transferred 40 times in his career? Or is it the harassment of the
Also, please
no,
correct yourself when you say, also please correct yourself factually. 40 times is in his career, not in the Congress party's rule.
I said 40 times in his 21-year-old career, and on one of those occasions replaced by somebody 5 ranks below him for exposing an alleged scam. Anyway, this discussion is not about Khemka, though I allow Mr. Khemka to come into the debate. This discussion is about how the bureaucracy is made an example of. So I'll allow Ashok Khemka his rebut. Ashok Khemka, will this Supreme Court verdict make a difference? If this Supreme Court law were to be implemented, would you have been harassed in the way that you have been?
Arnab, the views expressed in this channel are personal. Let me reiterate at the first instance that Supreme Court judgment is a very small step in the long road ahead. What Honorable Supreme Court of India has done is only to reiterate the provision of Rule 3 of the All India Service Conduct Rules, the Indian Administrative Service Cadre Rules, and it has stopped short of prescribing an independent civil service board. It has said that 3 serving senior officers will form the civil service board. The petitioners had demanded an independent civil service board. So even if the Chief Secretary is appointed a member of the Civil Service Board, it is doubtful whether he would dare act in defiance of the wishes or desires of the political masters. So, but nevertheless, it's a small step ahead in the long road ahead. But having castigated me in your channel, I do not know whether Randeep ji has done in his capacity as Honorable Minister of the Haryana government or as a Congress spokesperson, but I guess that he has done as Honorable Minister. I would accept it gracefully and not rebut him, because being the minister, he represents the will of the people, and as a public servant, civil servant, I will accept with humility but not rebut him in your channel. But I will take my pleading once the charge sheet is served upon me, no matter 1, 2, 10 or 20, I do not know how many, but each, since he has chosen to accuse me in public, I think he will allow me also to rebut the charge sheet in public. And if he wants to debate the charges in public, let the reply also get debated in public.
Sure.
But having said that, let's focus on the Supreme Court judgment today and move ahead.
I'm putting this question out.
If the rule of law, that is the rules, were obeyed in its true spirit, then probably after 2009 I wouldn't have seen my transfers without satisfying the minimum tenure of service, which was prescribed as 2 years in the service.
Mr. Khemka and Mr. Surjewala, may I appreciate the civility with which you are conducting this debate. I know how relations are strained between both sides. I know that the Haryana government and Mr. Khemka are at war, and I think our viewers appreciate the civility, at least the manner in which both of you are articulating your points of view. But that doesn't take away from the facts. Mr. Madhukar Jaitely, let me come to you next.
Can I just make one quick point?
Briefly.
It's extremely important. That's why I'm intervening. I normally do not intervene when you're taking the debate further. I want to make it very clear on your channel. There is no war between Government of Haryana or Shri Ashok Khemka. He is a respected officer of the government, and any action taken by government is within the 4 corners of law. There is neither any hostility or any pressure.
No, but you see, this discussion wasn't on Khemka, but I'm seeing 3 eyebrows raised. I have a right to go to all the eyebrows one after the other. The first eyebrow which was raised was of TSR Subramanium, but I go across to Satya Pal Jain. Satya Pal Jain, your rebut to Randeep Surjewala. But I request you that the points that you make today, make it in the broader context of whether and why we need a free bureaucracy. And to our viewers, we'll start taking your calls in a minute. Yes, Satya Pal Jain.
See, the judgment by the Honorable Supreme Court today is a welcome step, and I think it will go a long way in bringing transparency in the working of the political leadership as well as the bureaucracy also. The Supreme Court has made 3 observations in the judgment, which is a long judgment. One about the authority which will order the transfer, etc. One issue, I am not going to in the detail of that. But so far as the question of obeying oral orders of the political bosses are concerned, The Supreme Court has said that already rule is there. The only thing is that it must be implemented.
But it's not implemented.
Supposed to bring on file if there are oral instructions.
It's not implemented.
Yes, that is what the Supreme Court
it's
said.
not implemented. It's not implemented. It's not implemented.
It should be implemented. It should be implemented.
No, what do you mean should be?
But having said that, I would just like to,
which party implements it?
One more point.
Which party? No, 1 second. Which party in this country? No. Which political party? The politicians treat the bureaucrats as people who are bound to be loyal to them, and unfortunately many bureaucrats happily comply. Isn't that the reality? Isn't that the reality, TSR Subramanium?
Sir,
let's get TSR Subramanium in.
Has to be brought on file by the bureaucrat.
Which bureaucrat has the courage today to bring on file? How many Ashok Khemkas do we have in our country today? Let's be honest.
Yes,
TSR Subramaniam.
We need officers like Ashok Khemka, Durga Shakti Nagpal. We need
but you know what happens to these officers? There is a concerted attempt to crush the will of these officers, to crush their idealism.
That is what the Haryana government is doing. That is what the UP government is doing.
It's what all politicians do, sir, with respect. TSR Subramaniam.
Arnab, I think 2-3 points. I think the whole point of today's judgment, which Khemka said is small beginning, with which I agree, is precisely what we are discussing just now. We need more Khemkas and we need more Durga Nagpals. Today the system is heavily skewed in favor of the Toadies, in favor of those who want to tango for their personal benefit and the benefit of the political executive, etc. This is to give spine to the stronger people and put some fear of God in the dishonest people. Number one. Number two, you asked me why you raised my eyebrows. Only in 10 seconds, I don't know the facts of the Khemka case. Without going into this particular matter, till a person hands over charge, he can write judgments. He can write orders. This is both the judiciary as well as in the civil services. Till he hands over charge, he is not transferred when the orders are received. He is transferred when he hands over charge. This is the old British custom continuing till today. Thirdly, if you are charge sheeted for not meeting targets, I think Chidambaram, Montek and every secretary not meeting GDP targets, not meeting inflation targets in India, the entire bureaucracy of the country should be charge sheeted. I will not clog this point further. I think we have to understand today's judgment in this context. This is not one silver bullet which is going to change anything. But this now says that in public interest under Article 32 of the Constitution, good functioning of the bureaucracy requires stability of tenure, and therefore this has to be provided to avoid the kinds of things that we have seen in 2G, etc., etc.
It's an ideal situation.
All the instructions on the phone should stop.
It's an ideal situation. You know, Mr. Subramaniam, in the real world, Mr. Subramaniam, in the real world, what happens, what happens, then during an election observer and an IAS officer, he stops a motorcycle rally, right? He stops a motorcycle rally of Robert Vadra on charge of violating the Model Code of Conduct. He is transferred to monitor assembly elections in Goa. The decision is subsequently stayed when it comes under the lens of the media. Now, why am I giving this example?
The whole point of the PIL was this. The whole point of the PIL was that we saw one Durga Nagpal, we saw one Khemka. There are actually 2,000 Durga Nagpal, 2,000 Khemkas, not so well known.
Oh, totally said. Shailesh Gandhi.
Implemented, that 2,000 will come down to 500.
No,
500. That's the whole point. It's not as if
Shailesh Gandhi. First of all, I believe one of the parties which specializes in pressurizing IAS officers is the Samajwadi Party. Mr. Madhukar Jaitely represents the Samajwadi Party point of view. The party specializes in terrorizing, victimizing and putting pressure on officers. So will you change the way that you function following the Supreme Court verdict, sir? Will you stop throwing out officers from jobs of commissioners if they take on the mining mafia? Will you stop trying to persecute people like Durga Shakti? Will you change?
See, first of all, today's judgment does not covers the purview of an officer which is 1 year old, like Durga Shakti Nagpal. Now, since the chapter of Durga Shakti Nagpal has been closed, the people who tried to be influenced by the media reports went to the Supreme Court, went to the High Court, they were not given any relief, and the final judgment came from the government when it was investigated and she was reinstated.
Sir, the whole country knows what you are trying to do in the case of Durga Shakti Nagpal. Let's not go there.
No, everybody knows that the media stories are also changing.
No, the media stories are very. I have your leader on record, sir. What are you saying? I have your leader on record, sir. What are you saying? I have your leader on record saying we'll make an example of Durga Shakti Nagpal. What are you saying, sir? Please don't let me go there. Don't force me to go there.
The issue, but now since that issue is closed.
No, the issue is closed for you. The issue is not closed for the nation.
No, you may keep it open forever. You may keep it open forever, but that
as long as parties like yours try to persecute honest officers, this case will be open forever. Your attempt to close it. You want to talk about Durga Shakti Nagpal, Mr. Madhukar Jaitely, Mr. Jaitly. I'm Mr. Jaitly. Tell me, do you remember Himanshu Kumar, a senior IAS officer? Why was he thrown? Why was he shunted out of?
He is very honestly working in the state.
Why was he shunted from the job of Allahabad Commissioner?
You mean to say?
Why was he shunted from the job of Allahabad Commissioner?
Also.
Why?
I know everything. I know.
Because he took on the mining mafia.
The prerogative of the government. Because as Mr. Khemka very rightly said just now, that the prerogative of the government and the chief minister to transfer and the prime minister to take a decision on
that prerogative. So
has not been questioned by the Supreme Court.
Shailesh Gandhi is rebutting you. Shailesh Gandhi.
Firstly, what the Supreme Court has said today is basically reiterating the conduct rules which already exist.
True. But which don't exist in reality.
Two, Maharashtra passed a special act to say the same thing in 2006, that everybody will have a 3-year tenure, postings will only be in April and May and so on, flouted completely. But I think I'd like to bring one other thing to the table, apart from exceptions like Khemka and Durga Shakti Nagpal.
Are they exceptions of the rule?
No, exceptions meaning who stand up.
And who got the media support.
But most of these decisions, these invalid decisions, illegality of rules and laws is done through the bureaucrats. What was called a steel frame has today unfortunately become a straw frame.
Well said.
And therefore we have a problem. There are, what I meant is there are people like Khemka, and there are, and hopefully if this ruling is implemented, but that's a big if. If this ruling is implemented, it will strengthen the hands of those who are honest and defeat those who are dishonest. Certainly.
May I please say this? All the three parties represented on the Newshour tonight, with respect to them, the Congress, the BJP and the Samajwadi Party are all guilty of trying to pressurize bureaucrats equally. In fact, you can have a competition among all three of you on who's pressurized bureaucrats more. We're going to our first caller.
No.
Mr. Satya Pal Jain, how come no? Do you forget what you did to Sanjeev Bhatt in Gujarat?
No.
Can I tell you what happened to Shiv? Can I tell you what happened to Shiv?
That you have given, they are either of the SP government or of the Congress government.
No, I'll give you. Want examples of the BJP government? I'll give a few. You want an example?
No question of that.
No, why no question of that? You've gone there. Let me tell you then that what happened. No, Shivpuri collector. I have a lot of examples. In 2006, Shivpuri collector M. Geeta, she sent a missive to the National Highway Authority that the state cannot protect road contractors from the Gadaria gang. She was transferred. You want some more examples? So all of you.
Satyendra Dubey, during the BJP rule, complained to the Prime Minister and was murdered.
The judgment today is very clear. The judgment today is very clear. Two things are very clear. So far as the tenure party is concerned, as somebody was just now pointing out, rules are already there. Now the question is that ultimately the question is of the implementation. We welcome this judgment and we want this to be enforced. And I think this is the only way where the people like Mr. Ashok, Khemka or Durga Shakti Nagpal, they will be encouraged to come to the fold.
I take a first caller. First caller on the news. I have a question this evening is Naveen from Mumbai. Naveen, good evening. Who's your question to? Naveen, you're there? Okay, lost the line with Naveen. Mr. Shivaswamy is there from Hosur. Yes, Mr. Shivaswamy.
Good evening, Arnab.
Good evening.
My question is to Mr. Khemka and Mr. Subramanium.
Yes, please. Mr. Khemka.
Now that the Honorable Supreme Court is trying to correct various aspects of our governing of our country by the government, how hopeful are they that
Mr.
this particular verdicts of the Supreme Court will be implemented as a law?
Mr. Khemka, would you like to take that?
Mr. Shiv, Mr. Goswami,
Problem is how
can I come in?
effective the remedy is. If the rule is violated, or the law laid down by the Honorable Supreme Court now is not obeyed by the political leadership, how effective and efficacious is the remedy? For example, now, if the minimum tenure of 2 years is not assured and the officer is transferred before the 2 years, for example, I busted the seed scam, the CBI had attested to the criminality of the case, and these are crores of seed scam, as Honorable Rajiv Gandhi had also said that 15 paisa reaches the end target. In this, not even a single paisa reaches the end target. I am transferred within 5 months again with blatant impunity before the eyes of the general nation that usko 80 din mein pehle transfer kiya, now 150 days mein. What is the efficacious remedy? Now going to the courts means that it takes 1 year. Now you are already transferred, you are on a new job. What kind of a remedy you are going to get? So this issue has to be addressed, that if the law of the land or if the rule of law is not going to be obeyed, how is the officer going to get an efficacious remedy? And that was the incident which Mr. Surjewala is telling. On the 11th night at 10 o'clock I get the transfer order. 12th is a working day, I make a representation. That is not answered for. On 15th, the second working day, I leave charge. Now what do you do when there is no answer in yes or no? You go to court. How long would it take to give you an effective judgment? So that is the whole issue.
Well, I think that's well answered. Mr. Subramaniam, before I come to you, I'd like to go to Mahesh from Coimbatore. Mahesh, good evening. Arnab here.
Yeah, good evening, Arnab. See, I just have one question. When these people are going to allow the bureaucrats to work for what they have been appointed, will it happen, in our lifetime?
Will it happen in our lifetime? Will the bureaucrats be able to do...
know whether the bureaucrats will be allowed to work for whatever they have been taken.
Well, you know, we have a former cabinet secretary who wants to answer that. Yes, Mr. Subramaniam. You see, people are wanting that change to happen, Mr. Subramaniam.
The question is not clear to me.
He says, when will the bureaucrats be allowed to do the job for which they have been appointed? Will it happen in our lifetime? That's questions from Mahesh from Coimbatore.
This is the whole point that we are discussing just now, that the way our governance systems have collapsed, the way an MLA or a block pramukh can reach a chief minister, the way he can get a station officer transferred overnight, the way Durga Nagpal was handled, in the middle into the night she was suspended. Now we need accountability in the bureaucracy. We need bureaucracy to perform. They have to be given the opportunity to perform. Now somebody else asked the question, how do you know this will happen? How do you know what happened to Prakash Singh's case will not happen here? Today, 5 years later after Prakash Singh, there is a vigilant media, there is a vigilant RTI, vigilant civil society, the vigilant courts. People have woken up. Today is not in 3 years' time, Arnab. Things have changed dramatically. We have reached the pits now, and now we have the upswing. Don't expect results now. Give it 3 to 4 more years. Not in my lifetime, perhaps. In Goswami's lifetime, it will happen.
Well, I'm sure it will happen, but we must keep in mind as I go to Naveen from Mumbai.
Can I intervene and say one thing and supplement what what the Honorable former Cabinet Secretary said? Sir, we are only looking at about 10 or 11,000 bureaucrats in your whole discourse. That is about 3,000 IAS officers, about 3,000 IPS officers, and about 4,000 IFS officers. When a common man goes for his arms license, goes for his driving license, goes for his water or electricity connection, he does not meet a politician there. He meets a bureaucrat. We are looking at a bureaucracy which is nearly 3.5 crore big. And please do not say that only the Indian Administrative Service officers or the Indian Police Service officers would have that right. Most of the bureaucracy in this country, Arnab, is transferred by bureaucrats.
So can I ask you something?
And is controlled by bureaucrats.
Can I ask you something, Randeep?
And let us not forget.
Can I ask you something? I have a question for you. I have a question for you. I'll take a caller, but you know, I am very intrigued. I am very intrigued that your party, your centre sent 3 letters to the Akhilesh Yadav government on the case of Durga Shakti Nagpal. Even Sonia Gandhi wrote to the Prime Minister on the matter. What explains your silence in the case of Ashok Khemka? And there have been 3 committees: Hota Committee in 2004, Administrative Commission Report 2009, Santhanam Report 1962. These suggestions have been made. They were not implemented. You see, we have deliberately decided not to implement these reports, and not that the situation has improved because they have not been implemented. These are some questions in my mind. I'll come back to you, Randeep, to answer them. But I have Naveen from Mumbai. Naveen, good evening. On Newshour, I have a question. Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question to Mr. Khemka and Mr. Subramaniam regarding this Supreme Court verdict. Will it be implemented by the government? Are they hopeful that
everyone's asking that
across the party lines will not try to oppose?
I think everyone's asking that. Naveen, Mr. Subramaniam just answered that. If with your permission,
no.
I'd like Mr. Shailesh Gandhi to take that. Shailesh Gandhi.
As I said, a law made by the Congress government in 2006 in Maharashtra has been flouted.
Yeah.
And I think Mr. Subramaniam must start preparing for filing a contempt petition in the Supreme Court in the next year or two. We'd be extraordinarily lucky. But if you want to make this work, citizens and media will have to put continuous pressure. Otherwise, we have shameless governments and politicians and bureaucrats. Both can actually mirror each other.
Now, I want to give some stunning figures here before I go to the next caller. Mr. Madhukar Jaitely will not like this. But consider this, Mr. Madhukar Jaitely. Here are some figures, Mr. Jaitely. You know, you're getting angry at everything I'm saying, but please remember, these are pure figures. You've been in power for 16 months so far. In the 16 months, you've ordered 800 transfers of IAS officers, which according to the mathematics works to an average of 50 transfers every month in a state which has 350 IAS officers at present. Additionally, a RTI inquiry filed by an activist reveals 43 IPS officers have been transferred 40 times in their career, which on an average spans 33 years. There is an IPS officer who's transferred 43 times and his colleague is shunted 45 times. I have other IPS officers in a period transferred 59 times, 49 times and 47 times. I mean, what is this, Mr. Jaitly? It's not a government. This is becoming a joke. I mean, you want your policemen and bureaucrats to function, or you want them to? No. This is an unnatural situation.
Let me ask you. In the light of this judgment today, who is answerable to the people of the state and the people of the country through the legislature and the parliament?
Now, are you doing the right thing? I'm countering you. Have you done the right thing so far?
You see, the decision to transfer is the running of the administration is to be taken care by the government and the chief minister of the state.
So you can do what you want. So you can do what you want.
No, if a bureaucrat is making a mistake, who is going to take?
Sir, I ask you one question. I transfer you every 6 months. You will be able to do your job?
No, your statement is not based on any objective. The transfer must have taken place on the basis of some action.
Please, sir. On what basis? This doesn't happen anywhere in the world. What is happening in UP?
No, it doesn't happen. Then the Hong Kong study also says that the worst bureaucracy is of India.
Oh, so now you blame the bureaucrats. So that we've got a terrible bureaucracy, we'll keep posting them.
No. I am telling you what you are not telling. You are only supporting the bureaucracy and opposing the political class of this country.
No, I'm not opposing the political class of the country and supporting the bureaucracy. What I'm saying is that no, I'm not doing that. I take. You know, let me tell you this.
You are only saying that all bureaucrats are holy cows and the politicians.
All I'm saying is that when the centre tried to ensure adherence to the minimum tenure policy for bureaucrats, your state government rejected the centre's proposal.
Tell me one thing. Give me an opportunity to ask you, Mr. Goswami.
Yes, Mr. Jaitly.
Goswami, can you give me an opportunity to ask you? Now, let me tell you, supposing in the light of this judgment today, the 2-year tenure of an officer is given to the officer to complete for 2 years. The bureaucrat makes a mistake, or he is promoted, or he is sent on a foreign posting. Will that be able to be implemented in the course of the 2-year order?
Okay. We're running over time. I'm taking one caller. 1 second.
Arnab, can I just come in and
1 second. Mr. Surjewala, one caller. You ask a counter question. I'm just taking a caller. Ramakant is calling from Bangalore tonight. Ramakant, yes, please.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Today, first of all, it's a very historic judgment from Supreme Court.
Exactly. It is.
Because today, it is the anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who is considered to be the father of Indian civil service. So from that perspective, first of all, let us pay tribute to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Number one. Number two, the Indira Gandhi had called for the committed bureaucracy, which was very good. She wanted commitment, especially at the time of introduction of 20-point program. She wanted the bureaucracy to be committed to the ideals for which she was striving for. But unfortunately, today we have a subservient bureaucracy, and politicians want it to be subservient. There are black sheep both in the politicians as well as in the bureaucracy.
Well,
So
of course.
my honest submission to the Congress people is today to respect both Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and Indira Gandhi and leave the bureaucracy to function on its own.
Okay, Mr. Surjewala. Mr. Surjewala, very briefly, I want you to respond. Ramakant, stay on the line. Listen to his response very briefly, sir. I'm running really short of time.
Arnab, yes. Arnab, there are two very quick points I want to make. Firstly, the judgment is not a political class versus bureaucracy debate as many people on this panel are seeking to make it out to be. B, we must also understand that the political executive is answerable not only to the legislature but also to the people at large. In a given situation, political executive, including the chief minister, has the entire prerogative to shift a bureaucrat in the exigencies of a particular situation. Never can an order or a verdict take that right away, with due regards, from the chief minister or the government of the day to suitably shift a particular officer in a given situation.
Counter, Satya Pal Jain is countering you. Satya Pal Jain is countering you. Before I wrap up Newshour tonight, it's only fair I let him in.
To be able to
Mr. Satya Pal Jain.
Shift a bureaucrat, yes, a minimal guarantee of tenure is required. And as Mr. Jain is saying, Sanjeev Bhatt is an example, half a dozen bureaucrats in Gujarat are an example. The way they have persecuted, the way they have sent behind bars, the way Mr. Narendra Modi has suspended administrative service and police officers is known to everybody. So let him not be the holy cow and let him not
Okay, gentlemen, now
as if all BJP states have been hunky-dory.
To point out even a single mistake in his working. The moment he touches Vadra's case, you transfer him, and then you say no.
Excuse me, sir. Can I also ask you why did the BJP government transfer Mr. Khemka 6 times?
I will, at this point, I have to close the debate. I have some breaking news with me. I have just got a letter. I have just got. I will take this forward later. I will take this forward later. I will.
You have come forward.
Don't make it political. Don't make everything political. Don't make it political.
The truth is,
don't make it political. In the last, as I. In the
officer in exigencies of the situation, that right can never be taken away.
As I wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, in my hand is this Election Commission of India notice which has gone to Rahul Gandhi right now. 1 minute. Let me share the breaking news with our viewers. In my hand is the Election Commission of India notice which has gone to Rahul Gandhi right now. It has just gone out. It's a notice dated 31st October 2013. It's gone to Rahul Gandhi from the Election Commission of India in the context of his comment on the ISI. Rahul Gandhi has been told by the Election Commission, reply to us by the 4th of November. So this controversy is going to become big, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you all for participating with me on the historic Supreme Court observations this evening on the Newshour Tonight.